Join the Coven. Today's video is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering my listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/GothicRose and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title for free and start listening. It's that easy. Just go to audibletrial.com/GothicRose to get started today. Houses are not haunted. People are. A story written by Pyro Girl 8. Surrounded by the reminders of my dearest friend's life, I sit on the rough wooden floor reminiscing about a lifetime of shared memories. I reminisce about the good times, filled with joy and laughter. The long nights where we would giggle until the early hours of the morning, in that way children do. I reminisce about the milestones we had both achieved, venturing into the world as hope-filled new adults do. I ponder the more difficult times too, when she was there as I brokenly cried in her arms after my first breakup. When we sat in my car outside her house with the windows down and a cigarette lit, as she vented about another failed job opportunity. But most importantly, I wonder if I missed the signs. I relive that call as if it's once again 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday, and I'm wondering who dared disturb this precious time when I allow myself to ignore the world and sleep until the sun burns behind my eyelids. I remember slamming my hand on the nightstand groggily, searching for that elusive decline button, before rolling over and pulling the down comforter back over my head. I had just started to doze off when once again, the incessant ringing of the phone shattered the silence. Begrudgingly, I lifted my phone to my ear and answered the call. It was 5:58 on a Saturday morning, and my best friend was gone. Suicide, they said. My best friend in the whole world, my person, had taken her own life. I couldn't believe it. Didn't believe it. Surely there would have been signs. I would have known, wouldn't I? I blink my eyes and notice that my face is damp. I wipe the tears away with the sleeve of the college sweatshirt I wear. The one she bought me the day I burst through her door, waving my acceptance letter like a golden freaking ticket. She had screamed in excitement with me as we danced around the living room. Despite the fact that this would take me a world away from her, to the other side of the country, all she felt was joy that my dreams were coming true. I push away from the ground and stand to survey the life she had left behind. She hadn't lived here long, and it still felt like the home of a stranger. When her last surviving family had passed away, her grandfather, he had left her this sprawling Victoria-era house in the countryside. I remember how nervous I was to leave her alone in this empty Goliath of a home. When it was finally time for me to pack my meager belongings and head off on my own adventure at college. "Lena, stop, I'll be fine," Kat laughed with a broad smile on her face. "You won't even be gone that long. The year will go by before you know it, and you'll be back here with exciting new stories to tell your boring old friend Kat." She picked up one of my bags and ushered me towards the door. "You? Boring? Are we talking about the same Kat?" I laughed as we stepped outside and deposited my luggage in the waiting taxi. "Oh, right, that's you who's the boring one." She pulled me in for one last hug and said this, and I fought back tears. Promise you'll call me all the time, all right?" I smiled and nodded, and my promise was true for a time. But we both were busy and creating our own lives, our own futures, and our calls became fewer and farther between. I am once again filled with self-loathing at the last time I reached out to her was over a month ago. She had clearly needed me and I wasn't there for her. But that's why I'm here now, amid the silence and the emptiness and the only tangible reminder of Kat. I hope to find some shred of closure to understand what drove my friend to this. I make my way through winding hallways and through a dizzying number of doors to the kitchen, needing something strong to help me focus through my grief. I open the fridge, reeling a little as the stench of rotting food burns my nostrils. It forces itself down my throat. I gag and snatch the first bottle I see before slamming the door shut, so fast the contents rattled inside. I unscrewed the cap and take a deep swig of the liquor, hissing in between my teeth as the burn slides down my throat and warms my chest on its way down. I plop down at the kitchen island with a sigh, remembering a particular phone call with Kat that alerted me that something was wrong. Kat had expressed some troubling behavior, and I had been concerned that the isolation was affecting her mental stability. She had called me up one night while I was studying for finals, sounding shaken. Thinking back, I should have paid more attention. I should have been there instead of entrusting her well-being to a total stranger, like I suggested she'd do. Kat, calm down. I can't understand you. What's wrong? Are you all right?" I asked, the beginnings of fear gripping my heart in its cold grasp. I had never heard her sound so shaken, so terrified. She took a trembling breath and let it out slowly before continuing in a hushed tone. Lena, I think there's someone here." The words caused those creeping, icy fingers to snap shut around my chest in a vice-like grip. I shot to my feet, my stomach in my throat, the phone clutched to my ear like a lifeline. "Kat?" I gulped, trying to hide the shakiness in my own voice. "Get to your room, lock the door, and tell me what's happening." Okay, hold on," she whispered. I could hear the soft shuffling sound of her making her way up the spiraling staircase. I let out a breath of relief as I heard the soft click that signaled the door was locked and she was safe. For now. "Okay, good. Now, we need to call the cops, okay, Kat?" "No!" she blurted out before continuing more softly. "No, I don't want to hang up. I can hear them coming." I could hear her soft sniffling as she tried to hold back tears. "It's okay. I'm not even going to hang up. I'm just going to call from my roommate's phone," I reassured her, gesturing frantically to my dorm mate for her phone. I dialed 911 and gave them Kat's address, keeping them both on the line on speaker. "Kat, the police are on their way. You're going to be okay. Tell us what happened," I said, grateful my voice sounded calmer than I really felt. I don't know what happened, Lena," she stuttered, the tremble in her voice becoming more prominent. "Just start from the beginning." I could hear her trying to steady her breathing, the soft inhales and exhales assuring me that she was still there despite her silence. "I was sitting on the couch, and I was watching TV. I had it up pretty loud 'cause you know how old houses get at night," she began. "I was getting up to get some popcorn, and I heard a loud crash coming from the kitchen." I heard her choke back a sob again, followed by another shaky breath. "I ran around the corner into the hallway, and I saw him Lena? At this point, the 911 operator interjected. Ma'am, you've seen the intruder's face? Can you describe him for me? No, not exactly. It was dark, and all I could make out was his shape, standing at the end of the hall with his back towards me. He wasn't moving, he was just standing there. She whispered frantically. I hid in the study, and that's when I called you. Through the phone speaker, I heard Kat gasp before letting out a muffled sob as if her hand were pressed to her mouth to keep the sound from betraying her presence from the intruder. Kat, what's happening? I whispered into the phone, my heart pounding into my throat. He's in the hallway now, she whispered, sniffling softly before letting out a yelp. He's banging on the door. Oh my God, he's going to get in. Ma'am, the officers have told me they just arrived, and they'll be coming inside shortly. Hide under the bed or in a closet until they can get to you, the emergency operator relayed to Kat over the speaker. I heard the scuffling of Kat finding shelter, and for several agonizing moments that felt like an eternity, we waited in silence. Only Kat's ragged breaths breaking the stillness. Finally, I heard the officers announce themselves from the other side of the door, and I let out the breath I had been holding for God knows how long. I rub my face and take another sip of the whiskey, running a hand through my hair as I try to calm my nerves back in the present. That call had taken place only about a month ago. When the police arrived, they swept the house and found no one. All the doors and windows were locked, and nothing in the house was disturbed. Except, of course, Kat, who swore up and down that someone had been in the house. I remember she admitted to me that this wasn't the first time she had experienced something odd. She told me she had other odd happenings. Cabinets in the kitchen opening, items around the house moving, like the day she came home to a butcher's knife in the middle of her kitchen floor. Sounds she couldn't explain. Footsteps and banging and other inexplicable incidents. I should have been there. I clench my shaking fist as the grief is replaced with burning hot anger. Anger that I was the one who let her down. When she told me all of this, when she opened to the one person she could trust, what did I do? Recommend her to a freaking psychiatrist. Because how could that be true? It couldn't, right? She was probably overworked and overstressed, and the quiet and the emptiness of the house were playing tricks on her mind. I could still hear the hurt in her voice as she pleaded with me to believe her. And of course I told her I did, but we both knew it was a lie. Thankfully, the therapy and the meds seemed to help, and she seemed to be getting back to her old joyful self. I remember she would text me updates as we talked less frequently. She told me she liked her doctor and was glad to have sought help. She imparted to me that he had her keeping a journal of her daily life to help her discern what was reality and what was not. She didn't seem to take it seriously, but promised me she would give it a try. I shoot up off the stool at the kitchen island so quickly I send it clattering across the tiles, causing me to nearly jump out of my skin. The journal! I smack my forehead with the palm and shake my head as I settle the stool back into its spot beneath the counter. How could I have forgotten? If anything was going to give me answers into what had driven my friend to take her life, that would be the place to start. I tear out of the kitchen and race back through the maze that is this immense house. I turn the corner back into the impressive entryway with its marble floors and vaulted ceilings, and stop short as a frigid breeze caressed my skin. I haltingly turn to my left and see the front door slowly creeping open, the well-oiled hinges barely making a sound. I begin to step towards the door, my hand already outstretched to close it, when suddenly the door shoots the rest of the way open, banging loudly against the wall. I lurch back, wrenching my outstretched hand away from the door as if they were about to burn me. My eyes the size of saucers. Stare transfixed at the door now thumping softly against the wall as it continues swinging. I take a tentative step forward, then another more confident one, before reaching out and slamming the door shut. My breathing evens back out as I slide the deadbolt home. You must have forgotten to close it all the way, silly, I tell myself to ease my nerves. It was just the wind. I shake myself again before turning back into the house and making my way up the grand staircase. I rub my arms to chase away the remaining chill as I shuffle down the hall to the last door. I draw up short and take a deep breath. Kat's room. I haven't made it this far yet, wanting to put off this most intimate space until I couldn't anymore. Because I know when I walk in there what I'll expect to see. Kat, sitting, cross-legged on the bed, me at her side as we watch yet another Hallmark movie, like we did as teens. Or Kat at the dresser meticulously applying her makeup, as if she were meeting the king instead of just a couple of friends at the mall. Or maybe I'll walk in there and see her how she was found. See again what I had witnessed when I went to identify her body. The police said they had found her in her bedroom closet hanging by a rope. I squeezed my eyes shut as if I can escape the image. But that only makes it worse as it now plays out in the backs of my eyelids. I see her there, her limp body swinging, the creak of the rope that holds her only a few inches above safety. But more than anything, I see again and again the sight that awaited me when the coroner pulled back the sheet to identify her. He had warned me that it would be hard to see, but nothing could have prepared me. Her once vibrant green eyes were now bloody gaping holes, the skin so ravaged by her broken nails raking over and over and over. My eyes snapped open, once again taking in the sturdy wooden door before me. I square my shoulders and reach a hand out to turn the doorknob, ready to finally get some answers on what had happened in the last month. I turn the cold metal doorknob and push the door open slowly, taking in the room. It really looks like she could just walk in at any moment. The bed is meticulously made. The curtains open to let the feeble rays of fading sunlight in. Her makeup still lay scattered wantonly across the sturdy white vanity, and her plush robe is still hung from the peg on the back of the adjoining bathroom's closed door. I take a few slow steps into the room and stop dead in my tracks. There, at the other side of the room, opposite the bed, the closet door stands open. The darkness where my best friend took her life, a suffocating void within. My breath quickens, staring at the yawning darkness, and it is all I can see. Slowly, the sounds of my short gulps of air and the occasional creak of the aging house began to fade. There is only me, standing glued in place, mesmerized by this macabre vault before me, and the tomb of that vibrant girl I knew. As I stand there, I swear I can almost hear the creaking of the rope that served as the tool for that horrid deed. I feel my heart beating sharply against its cage, and I sense that this murkiness could swallow me whole in an instant. The creak of the floorboard as my traitorous legs began to carry me towards the closet breaks me from my stupor. An involuntary shudder creeps up my spine, and I hurry forwards to hastily slam the closet door closed. I lean my back against it and take a deep breath, chasing off the last of the discomfort the sight of the closet had caused. As I get my bearings once more, I begin to survey the room to determine where Kat may have kept the journal. I inspect the obvious locations first. The nightstand, under the pillow, the vanity. I make my way to the dresser and begin scouring the drawers, but quickly begin to lose faith. Surely the police would have taken something of such great importance, I think to myself. Having finally exhausted all the possibilities, the light of the setting sun has been replaced with iridescent moonlight. And although the lights blaze brightly around the room, there are still lingering shadows that refuse to be chased off, claiming corners and crevices as their own. With a huff, I plant my hands on my hips and inspect the room once more. My eyes are drawn once again to the closet door sitting slightly ajar. I cock my head to the side and stare at it for a moment, then another. The one place I haven't checked. I had done my best to put that coffin from my mind, but now it seemed inevitable. I squared my shoulders in a futile attempt to bolster confidence as I march up to the door. I seized the chilled metal knob in my hand and yanked the door open. There, in the middle of the closet floor, sits a small blue notebook. Without a moment's hesitation, I reach into the darkness and snatch up the book, then slam the door closed once more. This time ensuring it is firmly closed. With a quick jiggle of the handle, I retreat to the comfort of Kat's bed, crossing my legs as I settle in to delve into the memoirs of my lifelong ally. December 3rd. Well, here we are. I'm not really sure how to start this, and to be honest, I feel a little silly. Talking to a book. Recording my every action. Oh shoot, I've already started off wrong. Sorry, Dr. Trost. Let me start again. Dear Diary. Do people even still call them that anymore? Can't I just say, Sup Journal? You know what? Screw it. That is what I'm gonna do. Sup Journal? I find myself laughing, a small smile gracing my lips for the first time since receiving the news of Kat's death. This small reminder of her vibrancy and sense of humor is a soothing balm on the grief laying waste to my aching heart. With that smile still lingering, I continue. So, yeah, here we are. Lena talked me into seeing Dr. Trust after my, episode. That's what Dr. Trust calls it anyway. A paranoid breakdown due to isolation. Maybe if Lena were here, none of this would have happened. Sorry, that's not fair to her. I get why she had to go, and I know why I had to stay. Stupid granddad, who, by the way, I didn't even know existed until his attorney showed up to tell me. He bid it. I mean, a house is great and all, especially in this economy. But this house? I don't know. I swear, I know what I saw. Oh, right. That's the whole point to this journal. To document what I see and hear so that we can distinguish reality from delusions. Okay, Boomer. Ah, crap. I forgot he's gonna read this. You saw nothing. Anyway, I guess I should document what I already know has happened since it was real, Dr. Trost. It started out as small, dismissible things. One of the first things I remember was that things would go missing on me. I'm forgetful, but not that forgetful. Last week I was sitting on the couch watching TV. I don't even remember what it was. Some crappy comedy on Cheetahs, I think. And I went to grab a drink. I know I left the TV remote on the coffee table, but when I came back, it was gone. I still haven't found the freaking thing. I've had to actually, get up and use the buttons on the TV like it's the Stone Ages. Then there's the sounds. At first, I thought it was mice or even rats. I could hear it scurrying above my head and in the walls. But then the banging started. The first time it happened, I was in the office getting some work done. I heard that damn scurrying again, almost like footsteps running around, and I was about to start a phone conference. It was getting louder, and in my frustration, I yelled at these damn rats to shut the hell up for 10 minutes. Productive, I know. I don't think it's rats anymore. Not 2 seconds after the words left my lips, I heard what sounded like a deep sigh right next to my ear. It sounded disappointed. Then the banging started, like many hands all pounding on the wall behind my head, as if they were trying to come right through the wood paneling. I screamed. I was so scared I fell right out of my chair onto the carpet. I backpedaled as fast as I could. But just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Then, of course, there's the incident. I know what I saw. There was someone in my house. I called Lena. Thank God she's smarter than I am and had the good sense to call the cops. When I saw that person just standing there, I was like a deer in headlights. All logical thoughts except hide were gone from my mind. Then, when I was in my room waiting for the police, all I could hear was him banging on the door, trying to get in. The police had the nerve to try and have me committed to the psych ward. But I know what I saw. They said there was no sign of forced entry. All the doors and windows were locked. But if that were true, and there was never anyone else here, how did all the lights get turned off except the one in the bedroom? Well, there you have it, Doc. Can't wait to unpack this next week. I closed the journal and let out a heavy breath. If this was just the first entry, I am anxious about what I may uncover the further I delve. Deciding I needed a cigarette, I set the journal on the nightstand and ventured back out through the house to the living room where I left my purse upon arriving. I dig through the canvas bag, sifting through receipts and scrunchies and other odds and ends, and find the pack of smokes. I upend my bag, scattering the contents across the coffee table, but still turn up empty. With a scowl, I begin retracing my steps to no avail, with begrudging acceptance that a cigarette was not in my future. I trudge back upstairs to Kat's room. I enter the room and pause before I have a chance to sit back down. There, on the nightstand, right next to the journal, sits my little green and white pack of coffin nails. I glance around the room nervously, eyes darting between the lurking shadows. I could have sworn I left them in my purse. I swipe the pack off the nightstand and light a cig, taking a deep inhale to calm my anxiety. That journal is already getting to me. Keep it together, Lena. I resume my spot on the bed with the notebook, take another inhale, and chuckle dryly to myself. If Kat could see me now, she'd be blowing her lid. Smoking inside like this, but it doesn't really matter anymore. In no time at all, this house will be sold, and the smell of smoke in the wallpaper and floorboards will be someone else's problem. December 10th. Sup, journal. I wish I had good news, but I don't. I don't think I can even talk to Lena about this anymore. She'll have me committed for sure. So I slapped on a happy face and told her I like the dog. Which I do, and that I really feel like this will help. Jury's still out. I think the meds Dr. Trust gave me are causing some adverse side effects. I think I'm starting to sleepwalk. I've never done this before, that I know of, but this past week I've woken up to find myself standing in front of the closet door. Nose pressed to the wood, same spot, same time every night. Sort of a silver lining though, I found the TV remote and my coasters, 2 candles and my toothbrush, all piled neatly on the floor inside the closet. Maybe I brought them there while I was sleepwalking? I'm not quite sure. I also seem to be having some memory issues. Nothing too crazy. I pause my reading as a faint scratching sound reaches my ears. My gaze slowly follows the direction my ears tell me the sound is originating from. Up, slowly, to stare straight above at the ceiling. Thud. I yelp at the sudden disturbance. My eyes glued to the ceiling as the scuffling sound continues. Damn rats, I think to myself. I shoot one final surly glare at the ceiling before returning my attention to the pages before me. Nothing too crazy, but I'll mention it to the doc the next time I see him. Yesterday afternoon when I came back from picking up some groceries, I entered the kitchen to see the butcher's knife from my block, set lying in the middle of the floor. I hadn't done any cooking yet, and if I had dropped it, I certainly would have picked it up. Dr. Truss suggested it might be good for me to get a pet, that it would help me feel less isolated, and pets boost serotonin or some crap. I decided it couldn't hurt, so I stopped at the shelter and picked up Shiki. She's an adorable little black kitty. They say black pets are more likely to be euthanized, and she looked just as lonely as I have been feeling. Hopefully we can give each other some comfort. I remember she mentioned she got a cat. I was glad she would have a companion, another living, breathing creature to help her feel less paranoid about being here alone. After the incident with the police, I frowned forlornly, wondering what became of Shiki. I turned the page, eager to find out. December 17th. Subjournal. The sleepwalking is getting worse. Hell, everything is getting worse. Maybe I'm freaking delusional. I thought Shiki would help me out, and she did at first. When I came home 3 days ago, I couldn't find her. I was frantic, thinking she had gotten hurt or somehow gotten outside. That damn door keeps finding a way to get itself open. Anyways, I tore the house apart, searching for Shiki. Spent hours ransacking my own home to find her. I decided to finally search my room, even though the door was closed when I got home. As I approached the door, I could finally hear her mournful little cries. I tore into the room like a bat out of hell, following the cries to find her locked in a closet. I have no explanation for this one. This morning when I woke up, I was in the closet. I must have been sleepwalking again. But this time I woke up inside. I can never forget the feeling of waking up not where I fell asleep. The crushing, oppressive blackness, weighing on my chest like an anchor, preventing me from moving, breathing, screaming. I sat in there, immobile for what felt like a lifetime before a sound drew my attention. It started as a slow, low scratching, building to a cacophony all around me in the dark. I scrambled for the door, finally spilling out onto the bedroom floor. The morning light, a beacon of safety after the despair I had just experienced. Shiki is gone this morning. I don't know if she's still in the house even. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I inhale unsteadily, taking a final draw of my cigarette before extinguishing it on the nightstand with a shaky hand. How could she have gone through this ordeal without talking to me? How had I let her down so much? I clenched my hands into my fists, trying to control their trembling. Clatter. I glance upwards towards the adjoined master bath, catching a glimpse of the inside through the ajar door. I rise from the bed slowly, hesitantly approaching the door. I reached out and gently nudged the door open before flicking the light switch and bathing the room in a soft, yellow glow. I scan the room for the source of the sound before I spot the unshut medicine cabinet. I glance down and spot the yellow pill bottle lying top down on the front of the sink. I reach down to obtain the canister, checking the label. Pimavaricin? These must have been what Dr. Truss prescribed to her. I frowned disapprovingly at the nearly full bottle. Was she not taking her meds? I wondered to myself. tucking the pills back into the medicine cabinet and safely closing it again. I shut the bathroom door behind me once again, situating myself on top of the bed, ready to find my closure. I flip to the final pages, taken aback at the state of this final entry. Kat's normally cute, rounded handwriting is now clumsy and careless. Dark smudges permeate the pages. And I can't be certain. Some of them are not blood. December 22nd. I can't take it anymore. There's something not right here. Dr. Truss, go screw yourself. I've been losing time these past few days. I'm sleepwalking at night. During the day, there are hardly any times when I feel lucid anymore. I tried to leave, but every time I got in my car, I would wake up somewhere else again. Every time it's in a goddamn closet. That dark void is there, lurking, waiting for me every time I open my eyes. I fear that will become my doom, that the day will come when I wake in there for the last time. It's as dark inside as it is outside now. I woke up hearing creaking, quietly at first, as if trying not to wake me. Now, though, the din is building, deafeningly loud. I could hear them, as if every cabinet, window, and door in the house is screeching open at once. The closet, it's open now. The void is beckoning me, as if into the tender embrace of a long-lost lover. I'm tired of fighting. Lena, I'm sorry, but I'm so tired. I can't fight it. It knows I've seen it now, and there's only one thing left to do. My breath hitches as I begin weeping openly. It's clear to me now, Kat was not well. What had driven her to this madness? I press the heels of my hands to my eyes to stem the flow of tears. Creak. I freeze and choke back a sob. No, no, no. That can't be. My heart stops, my breath coming in rapid spurts. The shadows lingering around the edge of the room seem to lengthen and dance across the walls. A frigid breeze passes through me, causing my skin to rise. The room is deafeningly silent, as if an audience holding its breath before the final crescendo. I hauntingly lower my hands and raise my gaze level before me. Ahead is a gaping cavern of despair as the closet door stands open.